Marcus entered the ludus as nothing more than a poor farmer's son, carrying only his mother's blessing and a scrap of his father's cloth. From the moment he crossed the gates, the gladiatorial school stripped him of pride. He was mocked, beaten, and paraded like an animal. Older boys humiliated him, trainers lashed him, and even food was earned only through pain. At first, Marcus stumbled. He was smaller than some, less skilled than most. His dream of glory looked foolish under the jeers of rivals. Yet he clung to his father's memory and his vow. He would not be broken. Through the endless drills, swords against wood, sweat soaking the sand, he began to harden. He struck until his arms shook, remembered his mother's face, and pressed forward. His first victory came when he defeated a larger boy in combat, earning not only the attention of the doctors, but also a name among the other trainees, Marcus the Brave. Not all his trials were fought alone. He found a friend in Adam, a quick-witted boy whose humor cut through the misery of the school. Where Marcus burned with seriousness, Adam deflected with jokes. But together they endured punishments, shared scraps of bread, and dreamed of a future beyond the walls. The turning point came during a lavish feast, when wealthy men and women gathered to drink, laugh, and watch the boys fight for sport. Marcus, forced to display his skill, caught the eyes of the crowd. Some mocked, some calculated profit, but one noble woman raised her cup and gave him a title aloud, Marcus the Brave. That night, the lanista announced that Marcus and Adam had been chosen. They would leave the drills, the humiliations, the practice sands. They were to step into the real arena where cheers and death waited side by side. The boy who once struggled under ridicule now stood at the threshold of his true trial. His childhood was gone. His dream, dangerous, burning, irresistible, was about to begin. Into the arena, expanded. The first time Marcus saw the walls of the arena, he thought they touched the sky. Great towers of stone, ancient and scarred, ringed a world that pulsed with life. From outside, the noise already bled through. Cheers, jeers, the roll of drums, the blast of horns. He had heard them in training before, faint and distant, but nothing prepared him for the way they shook his chest now, as though the whole earth throbbed with hunger. Beside him, Adam let out a low whistle. "By Jupiter's beard," he muttered, wide-eyed. "That's not a building, Marcus. That's a monster. And guess what? We're walking straight into its belly." Marcus said nothing. His jaw tightened, eyes forward. His wrists were bound in chains, not punishment, just order. The guards liked to keep the boys roped like cattle. The corridor sloped down, torchlight flickering on damp walls. The air grew hotter with each step, thicker, until Marcus's lungs felt heavy. From above, the roar of the crowd rose again, crashing like thunder. "Listen to that," Adam whispered, half in awe, half in terror. "They don't even know our names, and still they scream. What'll they sound like if we last long enough to wave at them?" Marcus's silence stretched. Adam nudged him with an elbow. "Hey, you hear me? Don't go turning to stone now. I need you alive if we're gonna survive this." Marcus exhaled through his nose. "I hear you. I just don't know what to say." "Say you'll block for me when someone swings my way. That'd be a start." Marcus almost smiled, but the knot in his stomach held him. The preparation chambers. They reached the preparation hall, a cavern of stone under the arena floor. Heat smothered them, thick with oil, sweat, and iron. Torches smoked in brackets, throwing orange light across rows of boys stripped bare to the waist. Attendants moved like ants, smearing bodies with oil, strapping bits of leather to wrists and ankles, testing weapons. The clatter of swords rang sharp, mixed with muttered prayers and curses. Some boys shook. One retched into a corner, another traced the sign of Mars across his chest with trembling fingers. The smell of fear was as strong as the oil. Adam leaned close to Marcus, whispering fast. "They shine us like statues, eh? Maybe they'll put me on a pedestal when this is over. Adam the Beautiful, Adam the Shining. What do you think?" Marcus shook his head, managing the faintest smirk. More like Adam the fool. Better a fool than a corpse, Adam shot back. The doctor appeared then, a giant of a man, chest crisscrossed with scars, eyes sharp as a hawk. His voice cracked like a whip. "Stand straight, eyes up. You are not children now. You are gladiators, or you are meat for the beasts." He stalked the line, glaring, inspecting. When he reached Marcus, he paused. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Marcus felt stripped bare, as though the man saw everything. The fear, the determination, the flicker of hope. Then the doctor shoved a practice sword into his hand. "This is your tongue. This is your shield. Speak with it or be silenced forever." Marcus gripped the hilt tighter. It was heavier than anything he'd used in training, the wood scarred from countless blows. He remembered nights in the yard, striking posts until his arms burned, his father's cloth tied at his wrist, his mother's voice urging him not to quit. He whispered under his breath, "I won't fail you." The holding pen. They were herded into a cage that opened onto the sands. The barred gate loomed ahead, sunlight piercing through cracks like spears. The roar outside was louder now, so loud Marcus felt it in his bones. Adam pressed his face to the bars, squinting. "God's alive! Marcus, you've got to see this. There must be 10, 20,000 out there, all shouting, waving like a storm. Do you hear them? They don't even know me and already they love me." Marcus stayed back, breathing slow, fighting the tremble in his hands. Adam turned, forcing a grin, though sweat ran down his brow. "Say something, damn you. If I'm going to die out there, I'd rather not die talking to myself." "You won't trip," Marcus said finally. Adam blinked. "Trip? That's what you're afraid of, isn't it? Falling on your face before you even swing." Adam chuckled weakly. "So you were listening. Good. Then remember this. When they come for me, you'll step in, eh? Block the big ones? Leave me the small fry." Before Marcus could answer, a guard slammed his spear against the gate. "Forward. Step into glory or step into death. It matters not to Rome." The gate began to rise, chains rattling. Sunlight flooded in, dazzling white. Heat poured through like fire. Adam swallowed hard. "Well, here we go, Marcus. Try not to look too heroic. You'll make me look bad." Marcus's chest tightened. He whispered to himself, unheard. For father, for mother, for the dream. Into the arena. The gate clanged open. They stepped forward. The roar of the crowd crashed down like a tidal wave. Noise so great it swallowed thought. It rattled teeth. It made the sand itself tremble. The sun glared overhead unforgiving, a white-hot eye. The arena stretched wide, endless, its floor pale gold. Banners snapped above the tiers, noble crests bright against the sky. Nobles reclined in shaded seats, sipping wine, fanning themselves with feathers. Merchants shouted wagers, waving coins. Women leaned forward, their eyes bright with curiosity and hunger. "By the gods," Adam muttered, his voice nearly lost in the storm. "I've never felt so naked in my life. If my mother saw me now, she'd drag me out by the ear." Marcus said nothing. His gaze locked on the sand. Brown stains mottled the floor in patches, old blood, baked into the ground. The sight chilled him more than the crowd's roar. Here men had fallen. Here boys had been broken. This was no drill, no training yard. This was truth. The chant began to rise, a single word, over and over, until it shook the air. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" Novices were shoved into formation, pairs lined against pairs. Across from Marcus stood a boy taller by a head, arms thick, eyes cold with contempt. He grinned, tapping his sword against his palm, eager. Adam leaned close, whispering, "That one looks like he eats rocks for breakfast." The horn blared. The crowd howled. Marcus raised his sword. The dream had begun. Baptism of blood expanded. The horn shrieked, sharp as steel. and the world collapsed into violence. The novices surged forward, tripping over sand, colliding like waves in a storm. Some screamed, some bellowed war cries, others wept even as they swung. The crowd's roar rolled over them all, a tidal wave of hunger. Marcus felt his body seize with fear. For a moment, his legs rooted to the sand. Then a voice ripped through his paralysis. Adam's, high and panicked. "Marcus, move! Gods damn you!" The big boy across from him was already charging, teeth bared, sword raised overhead. Marcus lifted his blade at the last instant. The crash of wood on wood jarred through his arms, rattling his teeth. He staggered back 2 steps, sand spraying beneath his sandals. The boy sneered. "Farm rat! I'll break you fast." Marcus braced again, his chest hammering. He remembered the post in the Ludus yard, the countless hours striking until his shoulders screamed. "Don't back down! Push! Always push!" The boy swung again, heavy and brutal. Marcus caught it on his blade but stumbled, sliding across the sand. His arms trembled from the force. Beside him, Adam yelped as his opponent lunged. "Wait! Wait! We don't even know each other's names! Can't we? Ah!" He barely dodged, his sword flailing in a wild arc. "Marcus, he's serious. They're all serious." "They want blood," the other boy growled, eyes glinting. "Practice ends when someone doesn't get up." Adam squeaked, sweat pouring off his brow. "Well, that's bloody unfair." He ducked another swing, his voice carrying over the roar. "We're not even paid for this." The crowd howled laughter at his antics, some clapping, others shouting insults. "Die quicker, fool!" one voice rang. "Make us laugh harder!" shouted another. Marcus blocked again, gritting his teeth. His opponent was stronger, but strength wasn't everything. He remembered his father's voice. "The plow doesn't pull itself. You guide it. Hold steady. Use the ground beneath your feet." He planted hard, absorbing the next blow, then twisted his hips and shoved forward. His sword cracked into the boy's ribs with a loud thock. The boy grunted, stumbling back a step. The crowd roared at the clean strike. "Marcus! Marcus!" A few voices began to chant. The sound startled him, strangers calling his name, lifting it like a banner. For a moment he almost forgot to breathe, but the bigger boy snarled, rage twisting his face. "You'll pay for that, rat!" He charged again, swinging in wide, brutal arcs. Marcus ducked the first, rolled beneath the second, sand sticking to his oiled skin. He came up behind and swung hard at the boy's back. The crack echoed across the arena. The bigger boy dropped to his knees, gasping. His sword slipped from his hand, clattering in the sand. The crowd's roar sharpened into a chant. "Finish him! Finish him!" Marcus froze. His opponent knelt before him, chest heaving, eyes full of hate but helpless. Marcus's stomach churned. This was only wood, only a match. But the crowd didn't care. To them, this was life and death. The doctor's voice split the air. "Strike or be struck!" The boy lunged suddenly, desperate. Instinct took over. Marcus swung down with all his strength. The crack thundered. His opponent crumpled face first into the sand, limp. Silence swept the crowd for a heartbeat. Then it exploded. "Marcus! Marcus the Brave!" Marcus staggered back, panting, his chest on fire. He stared at the boy sprawled before him. He hadn't meant to kill. He wasn't even sure if the boy lived. But he had struck, and the crowd had seen, and they loved him for it. A fire lit in his veins, a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. For the first time, he felt the crowd's power coursing through him, lifting him, shaping him. Adam was still locked in a frantic dance with his opponent, swiping wildly, ducking, stumbling. "You, stay back! I'm warning you! I'm dangerous when cornered!" His opponent laughed and pressed harder. "Marcus!" Adam gasped, parrying clumsily. "A little help here?" Marcus blinked, shaking the fog from his mind. He lunged, swinging his blade across the other boy's arm. The boy yelped, stumbling back. Adam, wide-eyed, seized the moment and swung with both hands. His sword smacked into the boy's side, sending him crashing to the sand. Adam froze, staring down. Did I just win?" The crowd erupted again, half in laughter, half in cheers. "The fool lives!" someone shouted. "Give him a crown of bread!" another mocked. Adam bent over, panting, then turned to Marcus with a wild grin. "I told you, didn't I? Adam the Terrified, undefeated champion of not dying." Marcus managed a breathless laugh, though his eyes were still fixed on the boy he had dropped. His chest tightened with guilt, and with something else, something dangerous. He looked up at the stands. Nobles leaned forward, pointing, whispering. Some women clapped, their laughter sharp, their eyes fixed on him. One, dressed in silks, bright as flame, raised her cup high. "To Marcus the Brave!" she cried. The chant rose again. "Marcus! Marcus!" The horn blared once more, long and low. The fight was ended, but Marcus knew it was only the beginning. The roar of the crowd. The horn's last echo faded into the thunder of the crowd. Marcus stood frozen in the sand, chest heaving, his sword still sticky with sweat and splinters from the blows. The name rolled over him again and again, tens of thousands of voices crashing in unison. "Marcus! Marcus! Marcus the Brave!" It rattled his bones, deafened his thoughts. For a moment, the farm boy inside him shrank back, wanting only to hide. But the gladiator the crowd had seen, the boy who struck down an opponent and did not falter, stood taller. His legs still trembled, but his head lifted. Adam leaned close, his grin wild and half-mad. "Marcus the Brave, eh? Hear that? They don't even know I exist. Meanwhile, I nearly died of fright and not one soul thanks me for the entertainment." A rock flew from the stands, bouncing at Adam's feet. A drunken man shouted, "Clown! Dance for us, clown!" Adam bent to pick up the rock, holding it high. "My first gift from the adoring masses. A stone. Just what I've always wanted." He winked at Marcus. "Next time, maybe they'll throw wine." Despite himself, Marcus let out a breath of laughter, but his chest tightened again when he looked down at the boy he had struck. The novice lay still, groaning faintly. Attendants rushed forward, dragging him from the sand. Alive, perhaps, but broken. Marcus's stomach churned. I did that. With my hands. With my choice. The doctor strode onto the sand, arms crossed. He surveyed the boys, his gaze settling on Marcus. He gave a single nod, curt, approving, then barked, "Back inside! You've seen the sun, you've tasted the crowd. Now you earn your keep." Beneath the arena. The novices were herded down the tunnel, chains clinking, sweat dripping from their bodies. The roar of the crowd faded behind them, replaced by the damp echo of stone. Adam leaned close, still buzzing with nervous energy. "Did you see her? The noblewoman in the red silk? She lifted her cup to you, Marcus. To you. I've never seen a man so praised just for not dying," Marcus muttered. "I struck him down. And he tried to strike you. What else were you to do? Invite him for supper?" Adam clapped him on the back. "Cheer up, brave one. If you're going to brood every time you win, I'll never keep up." Marcus stayed silent. His mind replayed the strike, the boy's fall, the crowd's cheer. It had felt wrong and right all at once. They were marched into the underground chambers where the air was heavy with blood and smoke. Torches flickered, casting long shadows. Older gladiators lounged on benches, sharpening blades, their eyes tracking the new boys. One sneered. "Look at them, fresh meat, and one already playing the hero." His gaze fixed on Marcus. "Marcus the Brave, they call you?" He spat on the floor. A child's name for a child's victory. The others chuckled darkly. Adam puffed his chest. A child, maybe, but he stood taller than most men today. The sneer hardened. The older gladiator rose, towering over Adam, gripping his shoulder. "Careful, little fool. Your jokes might carry you with the crowd, but down here they carry you nowhere." Marcus stepped forward, his hand tightening on his sword hilt. The older man's eyes flicked to him, narrowing. Then, with a laugh, he shoved Adam aside and sat back down. The doctor barked again. "Enough! These boys belong to the sand now. Their blood, their sweat, their dreams, all Rome's property." He jabbed a finger at Marcus. "And you, brave one, don't think a single cheer makes you a man. The crowd will praise you today and curse you tomorrow. You want their love? Earn it every time you step on that sand." Marcus lowered his eyes, the weight of the words pressing hard. The crowd above. That night, while the boys ate their thin rations, the sound of the games still rumbled above them. Other fights carried on, beasts loosed against men, gladiators of fame clashing for wagers. Each cheer from above sent a pang through Marcus's chest. Adam gnawed his bread. Listen to them. That could be us one day. Real matches, real weapons, real pay. Can you imagine? Marcus shook his head. All I can imagine is dying there. Adam snorted. We'll all die there, Marcus. The trick is to die late, and with enough cheers that they remember your name. Marcus looked down at the strip of cloth tied around his wrist, his father's. His jaw set. Then I won't die at all. Not until they know me. Not until the dream is real. The rivalry's sharpened days passed. Training resumed. The boys drilled until their arms burned, until sweat soaked the sand, until lashes marked their backs for mistakes. Marcus pushed harder than ever, driven by the memory of the crowd's chant. But with each stroke, each block, he felt the eyes of others on him, resentful, sharp. The older gladiators mocked him. The novices whispered his name with jealousy. Only Adam stood at his side, grinning, joking, easing the weight. One evening, as the sun sank and the yard glowed red, the big boy Marcus had beaten hobbled past on crutches, his face twisted with hatred. He spat at Marcus's feet. "You'll pay for that, farm rat. One day the sand will drink your blood." Marcus said nothing, but the promise settled like ice in his chest. The roar. Within late that night, Marcus lay awake on the hard stone floor, staring at the ceiling. Around him, boys snored. Some whimpered in dreams. Adam muttered nonsense in his sleep, twitching as though still fighting. But Marcus heard only the crowd in his head, the roar, the chant, the wave of power. It had lifted him, made him someone greater than himself. And it frightened him because he wanted to hear it again. Interlude. Brothers in chains. The ludus yard was quiet, the sun sinking red over the walls. Most of the boys had stumbled off to their benches, too tired to lift another wooden sword. But Marcus lingered, striking the post again and again until his shoulders ached. A voice drifted behind him. Calm, steady. "You'll break your arm before you break that post." Marcus stopped, breath ragged, turning to see Lucius leaning against the fence, arms folded. He wasn't laughing at him, like the others often did. His expression was patient, almost teacherly. "I need to be better," Marcus muttered, raising the sword again. Lucius stepped forward, catching the swing with his hand. "Better doesn't mean breaking yourself. Better means lasting longer than the next man." He guided Marcus's stance, adjusting his feet. Weight low, shoulders loose. Strike from the core, not just the arms. You want to live, not just swing. Marcus frowned. "Why help me?" Lucius shrugged. "Because you remind me of someone, my younger brother. He used to charge at everything, posts, trees, even cows, until he knocked himself senseless." A faint smile touched his lips. "You have the same fire. Fire burns quick, unless you learn to tend it." Bread shared. That night, Marcus sat staring at his thin meal of beans and stale bread. His stomach twisted with hunger, but he forced himself to eat slowly, savoring what little there was. Across the bench, Lucius slid half his bread across. "Eat. You'll need strength more than I do." Marcus blinked. "Why?" "Because you're still growing. Because the doctor favors the strong. And because..." Lucius's eyes lowered. "Because some of us know we won't last long, no matter how strong we are." Marcus's chest tightened. "Don't say that." Lucius tore his remaining bread with steady hands. It's truth. We're all marked. But truth doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing what little we can. Adam plopped down beside them, cheeks stuffed with beans. And I choose to eat everything in front of me before someone else does. Simple philosophy, eh? He grinned, making Lucius chuckle softly. For a moment, the three of them felt less like prisoners, more like brothers sharing supper after a long day's work. Night watch. One night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He found Lucius sitting by the barred window, moonlight silvering his face. "You don't sleep much," Marcus said. Lucius shook his head. "Dreams are worse than waking." He looked at Marcus. "You dream of home?" Marcus nodded. "My father's field, my mother's hands. Sometimes I hear their voices." Lucius's gaze drifted upward. "I dream of books. My father wanted me to learn letters, but the coin ran out. He said he'd send me to study one day. Instead, I came here." "Books?" Marcus frowned. "Not the arena? Not glory?" Lucius laughed quietly. "Glory is smoke. Knowledge. That stays." Silence stretched, broken only by Adam's snores across the room. Lucius turned back, his voice low. "Marcus, if I fall, remember me. Not as a fighter. As a boy who wanted to read." Marcus's throat tightened. "You won't fall." Lucius smiled, weary but kind. "Then live enough for both of us." The bond days bled into each other. Training, beatings, sweat, bruises. But Marcus carried Lucius's words like a shield. Adam joked, lightening their suffering, but Lucius steadied them both. When Marcus's temper flared, Lucius calmed it. When Adam's jokes went too far, Lucius's glance reeled him back. The three moved as a small unit, sharing food, watching each other's backs. In the yard, Marcus began to notice how Lucius always placed himself between danger and the others, quietly, without boasting. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was steady, reliable. Foreshadow. One evening after drills, Lucius and Marcus sat sharpening their wooden swords, sweat dripping, arms trembling. Lucius spoke softly. "Marcus, one day the crowd will chant your name again. Louder, louder than you can imagine. That fire in you, they'll love it." Marcus shook his head. "I don't want chants. I want freedom." Lucius smiled sadly. "Freedom comes with blood. Remember that. Dreams always do." Marcus studied him, uneasy. "Why do you talk like a man who already knows his end?" Lucius said nothing, only gazed out at the setting sun. His profile was calm, almost serene, as if he had already made peace with something Marcus couldn't yet understand. The Ludus yard shimmered with heat. Sweat dripped from every boy as they hammered away at wooden posts, the sound of strikes echoing like war drums. Marcus's arms trembled, his shoulders screamed, but still he swung. Again, again. A hand caught his wrist mid-strike, calm, steady. "You'll break yourself before you break the post." It was Lucius, eyes calm, voice level. He adjusted Marcus's stance with quiet authority. "Weight lower. Swing from the core. Lasting matters more than striking." Marcus frowned. "Why help me?" Lucius's smile was faint but warm. "Because fire burns fast, unless someone teaches it to smolder." From across the yard, Adam groaned. "Smolder? Speak plain, man. The only thing smoldering right now is my back." He toppled dramatically into the sand, earning laughter. Lucius chuckled. Marcus allowed himself the smallest grin. In that moment, the three felt less like slaves, more like brothers in chains. Bread shared. That night, the novices gnawed their meager bread. Marcus stared at his, stomach aching, too hungry to eat slowly. Then Lucius slid half his portion across the bench. "Eat. You'll need strength." Marcus blinked. "Why give yours?" "Because I can spare it," Lucius said simply. "And because some of us know we won't last long." Adam stuffed beans in his mouth. "Don't talk like that. We'll all live long enough to be ancient, wrinkled gladiators who smell of oil and piss." He winked. "That's my dream anyway." Lucius laughed softly. "Dreams cost blood. Remember that." Moonlight sleep was scarce. One night, Marcus found Lucius sitting by the barred window, moonlight tracing his features. "You dream of home?" Lucius asked without looking. Marcus nodded. "My father's field, my mother's hands. I hear them sometimes." Lucius's eyes glimmered. "I dream of books, letters my father once tried to teach me. He said I'd be a scholar, but coin ran out, and fate sent me here instead." Marcus frowned. "Not glory? Not the arena?" "Glory is smoke," Lucius said. "Knowledge stays." He turned, voice quiet. "If I fall, Marcus, remember me. Not as a fighter, as a boy who wanted to read." Marcus's throat tightened. "You won't fall." Lucius only smiled, serene as ever. "Then live enough for both of us." The match. The horn split the air. The novices were driven into formation, two ragged lines across the sand. The crowd roared, hungry for spectacle. Lucius stood at Marcus's side, calm as always. "Stay close, watch each other's backs, survive." Adam groaned. "Brilliant strategy. Wish I'd thought of it." The horn blared again. Chaos erupted. Blunted blades clashed. Shields cracked. Boys screamed as blood flew despite the practice weapons. Marcus fought like a man possessed, fueled by training and fear. Adam flailed, shouting half-jokes that the crowd howled at. And Lucius was steady, saving them again and again with sharp, precise strikes. "Two survive better than one," he reminded, parrying a blow meant for Marcus. For a moment, Marcus thought they might truly last. The fall. Then the brute came. A hulking novice with a shaved head and a heavy mace, eyes wild with hate. He barreled for Adam. Adam tripped, sprawling, shrieking. "Marcus! He's going to squash me!" Marcus lunged, but Lucius moved first. The mace smashed into his side. His shield shattered. The sound of ribs cracking silenced the world. "Lucius!" Marcus's scream ripped across the sand. The brute raised the mace again, but Marcus struck like fire, smashing him down in a fury of blows. Rage blurred his vision. When the boy lay gasping, Marcus turned back. Lucius was on the ground, coughing blood, eyes already dimming. The last words. Marcus dropped to his knees. "No, no, stay with me!" Lucius's hand found the rag at Marcus's wrist, gripping it weakly. His voice rasped. "Dreams cost blood. Pay it wisely." Marcus sobbed, shaking his head. "You'll live. You have to." But Lucius's breath rattled once, twice, and then stopped. His hand slipped away. The crowd roared as attendants dragged the bodies. To them, it was spectacle. To Marcus, it was the death of a brother. The shadow. That night, silence smothered the barracks. Even Adam had no jokes left. Marcus lay awake, staring at the ceiling, Lucius's words burning in his ears. Dreams cost blood. Pay it wisely. He pressed his father's cloth to his lips, whispering, "I'll remember. Always." Tears came, but he let them fall. The shadow of death had settled over his dream, and it would never leave. The test of fire. The announcement. The midday sun baked the training yard, but the novices weren't working drills. Instead, they stood in a ragged circle while the lanista paced before them. His shadow cut across the sand like a blade. "Today," he barked, "one among you will face the test of fire. Not practice, not play, a duel before patrons." A murmur rippled through the boys. Marcus's stomach clenched. He'd heard whispers of these tests, real fights to see which recruits might be worth gold and which should be discarded. The lanista's eyes swept the line. Then his hand shot out, finger stabbing like a spear. "You," Marcus froze. His heart slammed in his chest. Adam whispered behind his hand, "Don't shit yourself, brother. Not yet." But then came the second finger, pointing to a boy with a cruel smirk and broad shoulders. Gaius. The yard went still. Marcus's mouth went dry. Of all opponents, it had to be him. Gaius, the brute who had mocked him for his ragged clothes, who had laughed when Lucius coughed blood in the sand. The lanista sneered. "A farmer's rat against a born fighter. Let's see who bleeds." The preparation. The cell stank of rust, sweat, and fear. Marcus sat on the stone bench, head bowed, fingers clutching the strip of cloth from his father. His stomach churned. Adam crouched beside him, whispering, "You can't beat him, Marcus. Not clean, he's bigger, meaner, and he hates you enough to kill." "I know. So, what's the plan?" Marcus looked up, eyes steady. "Survive." Adam smirked weakly, though fear clouded his face. "Good plan. I'd prefer one where you do not come back with your head cracked like an egg, but survive works too." Across the corridor, Gaius laughed, slamming his fist against the bars. "Hear that, farmer? I'll grind you into the sand. The crowd will laugh when they drag your corpse." Marcus closed his eyes. In the darkness, he heard Lucius's voice. "Dreams cost blood. Pay it wisely." He rose. "I'll pay." The arena opens. The gates creaked. Light flooded the corridor. The roar of the crowd hit like a wave. Thousands of voices, laughing, jeering, hungry. The smell of wine and roasted meat drifted down, masking the stench of fear. Adam gripped Marcus's arm. "Remember, don't let him corner you. And don't die. I can't stand the thought of being the funny one alone." Marcus allowed himself a thin smile, then stepped into the light. The sand burned beneath his feet. The sun blazed overhead. Around him, tiers of nobles and merchants leaned forward, goblets raised, eager for blood. And at the far end, Gaius strutted from his gate, mace in hand, grinning like a wolf. The crowd cheered. "Gaius! Gaius!" Marcus tightened his grip on his training sword. His heart thundered, but his gaze didn't waver. The duel. The horn blared. Gaius charged, faster than Marcus expected. The mace smashed into his shield with a thunderous crack, nearly ripping it from his arm. He stumbled, the force rattling his bones. "Too slow, rat!" Gaius bellowed, swinging again. Marcus barely rolled aside, the mace slamming into sand where his head had been. The crowd laughed. Pathetic. A lamb. Marcus scrambled up, raising his sword, but Gaius pressed hard. Blow after blow hammered his shield, each one a storm. Marcus staggered back, his arms screaming, vision swimming. "Fall!" Gaius roared, slamming him down with a shield bash. Marcus hit the sand hard, the crowd erupting in laughter. He gasped for breath, grit in his mouth, blood trickling down his cheek. Above him, Gaius raised the mace high, eyes gleaming. "Die like the farmer's son you are!" Marcus's mind screamed. His body burned. And then, Lucius's face, his father's cloth, his mother's voice, whispering strength. With a roar, Marcus rolled aside. The mace smashed into the sand, spraying grit. He swung wildly, blade scraping Gaius's thigh. Not deep, but enough to draw blood. The crowd gasped. The turned Gaius snarled. "Lucky rat!" But Marcus had found rhythm. He couldn't match strength, but he could endure. He dodged, parried, made Gaius chase him, each step wearing the brute down. Gaius swung harder, angrier, his blows less precise. Sweat drenched his face. Marcus whispered through clenched teeth, "Smolder, don't burn." Lucius's lesson. He feinted left, then slashed right. His blade cut across Gaius's arm. Blood sprayed. The crowd roared. Gaius howled in rage, charging recklessly. Marcus sidestepped, driving his shield into the brute's ribs. The bigger boy staggered, breath knocked out. And for the first time, Gaius looked unsure. The outcome. Marcus didn't hesitate. He struck again and again. Sword smashing into shoulder, thigh, ribs. each blow fed by pain, by loss, by fire that refused to die. Gaius collapsed to his knees, blood staining the sand. He glared up, snarling through broken teeth. "Kill me, rat, if you dare!" The crowd erupted. "Kill! Kill!" Marcus stood over him, chest heaving, sword raised. Every part of him screamed for vengeance, for Lucius, for every insult, every humiliation. But he remembered Lucius's words. Dreams cost blood. Pay it wisely. With a growl, he slammed the hilt of his sword into Gaius's skull. The brute crumpled unconscious, alive, but broken. The crowd went wild. Some booed, others cheered. But the chant rose, louder and louder. "Marcus! Marcus! Marcus!" The aftermath. Back in the cells, Adam rushed to him, eyes wide. "By the gods, Marcus, you did it! You actually beat that ox!" Marcus sank onto the bench, bloodied and trembling, staring at his hands. He had won. The crowd had cheered his name. But as the noise echoed in his skull, he heard another voice beneath it. Lucius, calm, steady. Dreams cost blood. Marcus whispered to the cloth at his wrist. "I'll pay, but only what I must." The dream burned brighter and darker. The murmurs of fame. The yard was different after the duel. Where once Marcus had walked in silence, shoulders heavy under mockery, now whispers followed him. "That's him, Marcus the Brave. The farmer boy who broke Gaius. Did you see the way he stood? Like a wolf." Even the older trainees gave him space, nodding in grudging respect. Some clapped him on the shoulder, others muttered blessings. Only a few, those who had laughed loudest before, now glared, envy simmering in their eyes. Adam strutted beside him, grinning. "You hear that, brother? They're talking about you. No more rat, no more lamb. Marcus the Brave." He puffed his chest. "And me, of course, his devilishly handsome sidekick." Marcus only shook his head, though a secret ember warmed in his chest. For the first time, he was not invisible. The Feast of Patrons. That evening, the lanista summoned a handful of boys to the villa. The air smelled of roasted meats, spiced wine, and perfumes too sweet for Marcus's nose. The hall glittered with gold lamps and marble pillars. Merchants in silks lounged on couches, their laughter loud, their hands never empty of goblets. Noble women in bright gowns whispered behind jeweled fans, their eyes darting toward the gladiators paraded before them. Adam elbowed Marcus. "By the gods, look at this! Food enough to feed my whole village! Wine that could drown us both! And women!" His grin widened. "I'll take two." Marcus swallowed hard. He felt like a beast dragged into a lord's stable. Every gaze weighed him, measured him. The laughter wasn't for him. It was at him. Still, when the lanista announced, "Marcus the Brave, victor of the test," a murmur of interest ran through the hall. A few goblets lifted. A noblewoman's fan froze mid-flutter. Adam whispered, "They see you, Marcus. Really see you." Temptations. Later, when the gladiators were released to mingle, Marcus stood awkwardly near a tray of figs, unsure if he was allowed to eat. A patron approached, a fat merchant with rings on every finger. He clapped Marcus's back. "Strong arms, eh? You keep winning, boy, and I'll put coin on you. Make me rich and maybe I'll buy you your freedom one day." Marcus nodded stiffly, but the man was already gone, laughing with another. Then a voice softer than the rest reached him. "So this is Marcus the Brave." He turned. A noblewoman stood before him, her gown crimson, her smile sly. Her eyes lingered on him longer than most dared. "You fight like fire," she said. "But fire must be fed. I wonder, what feeds you?" Marcus faltered. "My dream." Her smile deepened. "Dreams are fragile. I could feed yours if you wished. Gold, clothes, perhaps even comfort." Her hand brushed his arm, light as silk. Marcus's chest tightened. He thought of his mother's hands, calloused from work, and the touch felt foreign, dangerous. Before he could answer, Adam stumbled over, mouth full of bread. "Pardon us, lady. Marcus promised me the next dance." He winked, dragging Marcus aside. When they were clear, Adam hissed, "Careful. A woman like that will eat you alive, and I'm not talking about your heart." The warning. The lanista found Marcus later, leaning against a pillar. His eyes were sharp, lips curled in a sneer. "Enjoying yourself?" Marcus hesitated. "I don't know what to make of it." "Make of it this," the man growled. "They cheer your name today. Tomorrow they may cheer your death louder. Patrons don't care for you. They care for the spectacle. Fame is a chain, boy, heavier than iron. Let it bind you, and you're already dead." Marcus swallowed. "Then what should I do?" The lanista leaned close, voice low. "Fight. Win. Survive. That's all." Closing. That night, the hall emptied. The wine soured. The laughter faded. Marcus returned to the cell, the cloth of his father tied tight at his wrist. Adam snored on the bench, muttering about figs and women in his sleep. Marcus sat awake, listening. Through the barred window, faintly carried on the night air, came the sound of men in taverns, drunk and shouting, "Marcus! Marcus the Brave!" He pressed the cloth to his lips. "I'll not be their animal," he whispered. "I'll make my own name." But deep inside, he knew. The chains of fame had already begun to close. The first true legend, the summons. The barracks were buzzing with rumors before dawn. Something special was coming. Not a novice duel, not a show of drills, a true spectacle. The lanista entered, flanked by guards. His voice rang across the hall. "Tomorrow, one of you will face a trial not meant for boys, a trial fit for men." All eyes turned. The guards stepped aside, and the lanista's finger leveled straight at Marcus. Adam groaned. "Of course. Can't let my boy have a day off, can we?" Marcus's heart pounded, but he didn't flinch. "Who?" he asked quietly. The lanista's lips curled. "Not who. What? A beast." The beast in chains. At dawn, Marcus was led through iron gates into the holding pens beneath the arena. The air reeked of hay, dung, and musk. From the shadows came a low growl that shook the ground. A lion. Its golden mane bristled, its eyes burned. The beast slammed against the bars, claws screeching across iron. Adam, peering from behind a guard, whispered, "By the gods, Marcus, that thing eats men for breakfast." "And you? You're the toast." Marcus said nothing. He only touched the cloth on his wrist and steadied his breath. The arena awakens. The stands were overflowing. Nobles, merchants, even magistrates had come. Word had spread. A novice, Marcus the Brave, would face a lion. The crowd chanted before he even appeared. "Marcus! Marcus!" The gates creaked open. Marcus stepped into the blinding light, sword and shield in hand. His chest was tight, but his stride steady. The opposite gate thundered. The lion burst forth, a golden storm of fury, jaws wide, claws flashing. The crowd roared louder than the beast. The battle. The lion struck first, faster than Marcus thought possible. He barely raised his shield before the impact threw him back, claws raking across wood and flesh. Pain seared his arm. He rolled, sand in his mouth, heart hammering. The beast circled, tail lashing, growled deep and thunderous. Marcus whispered through clenched teeth, "Smolder! Don't burn!" The lion lunged again. Marcus dodged, slashing, a shallow cut across its flank. The beast roared in fury, the crowd exploding in cheers. Blow after blow, leap after leap. Marcus gave ground, sweat stinging his eyes, lungs on fire. The lion was stronger, faster, born to kill. He was only a boy with a blade, but he endured. Every step, every dodge, he remembered Lucius, his mother, his father, his vow. The lion lunged once more, but this time Marcus didn't retreat. He planted his feet, raised his shield, and as the beast crashed into him, he drove his sword deep into its chest. The sand shook with the impact. Blood sprayed hot and heavy. The lion roared one last time, then fell still, its body collapsing beside him. Marcus staggered, sword dripping, chest heaving. The legend. Silence fell for a heartbeat. Then the arena erupted. "Marcus! Marcus! Marcus!" The chant thundered, rolling like storm waves. Patrons threw coins, women screamed his name, even magistrates clapped. Above it all, the lanista watched, eyes sharp, already calculating profits. Adam, pressed against the gate, shouted, "You mad bastard! You killed a lion! A lion! Gods, you're unstoppable!" Marcus raised his sword, but inside, he felt only exhaustion, and the weight of the lion's blood soaking into his hands. He looked to the sky. In his mind, he saw Lucius smiling in moonlight, heard his father's voice in the fields, felt his mother's hands on his cheek. He whispered, too soft for the crowd to hear, "This is only the beginning." Closing. That night, as the city still echoed with his name, Marcus lay awake in the barracks. Adam snored beside him, dreaming of riches. Marcus clutched the cloth at his wrist. The cheers still rang in his ears. But beneath them, he heard chains, invisible, unbreakable. Fame, blood, iron. He had survived the lion. He had begun a legend. But legends, he now knew, were born not from dreams, but from sacrifice, and his had only just begun.